Unaware his wife was the secret billionaire investor of his company, husband mocked her at dinner for being ordinary. What she did when she pulled out the ownership papers shocked the entire family. He didn't just embarrass her. He did it under chandeliers in crystal, at an upscale restaurant table filled with family and board members. With his assistant seated too close and a smile too bright, he raised a glass and laughed. "She's just a housewife." The room joined him. She held her wine, silent until the moment came. Because what Daniel never knew was this. The woman he mocked was the secret billionaire investor behind his company, the same ordinary wife who funded his dream through Aurora Capital. And when she stood, calm as winter light, and slid a black leather folder across the table, the room froze. Notarized shares, audit trails, ownership papers, every number a truth, every signature a mirror. The laughter died, whispers rose, faces turned. His assistant's chair inched back, and in that golden dining hall, respect changed sides. This is not just another story of betrayal. It is the quiet rise of a woman who chose dignity over noise, law over rage, and facts over pride. From the candlelit dinner where he mocked her, to the boardroom where she voted him out, to the rooftop sunrise where she rebuilt the rules. This is the journey of silence becoming power. Dear viewers, thank you for being here. If you watch without subscribing, her voice risks fading back into the room that laughed at her. Click subscribe to stand with every person underestimated, every partner dismissed, every heart that chose truth over applause. And in the comments, tell us where you're watching from. Your city becomes part of her legacy. The morning began with the sharp hiss of a coffee machine and the soft hum of a piano somewhere in the background. Sunlight poured through the kitchen blinds, washing the countertops in a golden warmth that made everything look peaceful, almost perfect. But beneath that calm was something else, something unspoken. Anna Carter stood by the kitchen counter, one hand stirring coffee, the other scrolling through her laptop. The glow of the screen lit her face, catching the faint tiredness under her eyes and the quiet focus of someone used to thinking 3 steps ahead. The page open on her screen wasn't a recipe or an email. It was a secure financial dashboard labeled Confidential Holdings, Aurora Capital. Numbers moved like silent waves across the display, millions in quiet motion. Anna, 35, looked like the picture of simplicity light sweater, hair tied back loosely, small gold band on her finger. To most who saw her, she was just Daniel Carter's wife. A soft-spoken woman who smiled at board dinners, remembered birthdays, and never raised her voice. But before she married Daniel, she had been a financial analyst at one of the top investment firms in the city. Numbers were her language, logic, her rhythm. And Aurora Capital, the anonymous firm funding her husband's company, was her creation. The faint rumble of an engine outside pulled her back from the screen. She clicked the laptop closed in one fluid motion, just as Daniel's voice broke the silence. "Morning, sweetheart," he said, stepping into the kitchen. Daniel Carter, 38, tall, broad-shouldered, always impeccably dressed even before sunrise. His phone was glued to his hand, his tone casual but distracted. "Big day today, meeting with the mystery investor. If this goes well, we're talking expansion." He kissed her forehead absently, eyes never leaving the phone. Anna smiled faintly. "Coffee's ready," she said softly, sliding the mug toward him. "Perfect, thanks." He took a sip, grimaced slightly too hot, and set it down. "Wish me luck." "Always," she said. He was already halfway out the door when he turned back with a smirk. "If only our investor were half as predictable as you, honey." Anna's smile held steady, though it faltered for a heartbeat. "Maybe," she said gently. "They're not as far as you think." He chuckled, assuming it was a joke. "Cute. I'll call you after the meeting." When the door shut behind him, the house fell into silence again. Anna exhaled slowly, her hand resting on the laptop lid. Her eyes lingered on the coffee he'd left half drunk on the counter, a perfect symbol of Daniel. Always starting something, rarely finishing. She loved him once for that ambition, for the way he dreamed. Now she wondered if he remembered that his dream had been built on her quiet belief and her hidden money. As she reopened the laptop, a flicker of memory crossed her face. Flashback, 5 years earlier. A younger Anna sits in a cramped apartment beside Daniel, helping him draft his first business proposal. His eyes are bright with passion, hers with quiet trust. "I'll make this work," he says. "You'll see." She nods, smiling, and secretly transfers her first major investment under Aurora Capital, a name inspired by her mother's favorite constellation. She never told Daniel, not because she didn't trust him, but because she wanted him to succeed without feeling indebted. Back in the present, her reflection shimmers faintly in the dark screen. She touches her wedding ring, then the laptop lid, almost as if weighing which mattered more. The house clock ticks loudly. She walks to the window, watching Daniel's car disappear down the street. Her heart is steady, but her thoughts churn. She knows every figure in his company's accounts, every transfer, every partner, every lie he hasn't yet realized she already sees. Her phone buzzes a text from her old colleague, Liam. "Liam, audit results in. You might want to take a look. Discrepancies again in R&D account." Anna's thumb hovers over the reply button. She doesn't answer, just saves the message in a locked folder. Outside, the morning wind brushes the garden leaves against the window, whispering like a warning. She sits at the table, coffee untouched, laptop glowing faintly once more. The Aurora Capital dashboard opens again, her name hidden in legal layers of ownership, her power buried under his pride. She takes a slow sip from her cup, finally cold now, and whispers under her breath, "Maybe today's the day you meet your investor, Daniel." The words are calm, but the tone carries something deeper, an undercurrent of quiet irony, almost sorrow, because she knows that when Daniel walks into that meeting, expecting a faceless billionaire behind his success, he will never imagine it's his own wife. The soft piano fades as Anna closes the laptop again. The camera lingers on the reflected light of the screen against her eyes, a mix of intelligence and ache. The light flickers once, as if the truth itself is alive inside that machine. She turns toward the empty doorway, expression unreadable. For a brief second, the house feels too quiet, the calm too still. And just before the scene fades to black, the narrator's voice breaks through the silence. He thought he ran his company alone. What he didn't know was that his biggest investor shared his last name. A faint clinking of glass echoes from the counter, Daniel's unfinished cup tipping slightly, spilling a dark trail of coffee across the table. A subtle foreshadowing. The next dinner will stain more than the tablecloth. The scene opens with noise, glasses clinking, laughter echoing, forks scraping plates. The restaurant glows under chandeliers, and the sound is almost too bright, too polished. It's the kind of place where deals are made and egos are fed. At the center of the long table sits Daniel Carter, confident and loud, his charm filling the room like expensive perfume. To his left sits Anna, his wife, composed and quiet. Across from her, a woman with striking red lipstick and sharp eyes leans slightly toward Daniel. Lara Mason, his new assistant, introduced earlier to the family as a brilliant asset to the company. Lara is 30, ambitious, the kind of woman who knows how to listen with interest and laugh at the right moments. She's Daniel's assistant, but everyone at the table can sense there's more. Her glances are too familiar, her hand lingering on his arm a moment too long. Anna sits straight, her posture perfect, her dress simple, a soft ivory that glows under candlelight. She smiles politely, listening as Daniel boasts about his company's growth. The air smells of roasted steak and red wine, but beneath the surface, there's the faint sting of arrogance. "And our numbers have tripled this quarter," Daniel says, swirling his drink like a performer commanding applause. The board's ecstatic. "Honestly, without that investor backing us, I'd still be working out of a garage." Lara laughs lightly, resting her manicured hand near his. "You make it sound too humble, Daniel. You're the reason the company shines. Investors just follow success." He grins, pleased. "Exactly." Then turning to his family at the far end, he adds, "Not everyone understands how complex it all is. You need instinct for business." His sister, Marianne, soft-spoken and kind, looks toward Anna. "I think it's lovely that Anna supports you so much. You two balance each other perfectly." It's a sincere compliment, but Daniel ruins it with a laugh that slices through the moment. "Oh, Anna? She's just my good luck charm. A housewife with a golden heart, but business?" He shakes his head, chuckling. "She leaves that to me." The table bursts into awkward laughter. Even those who feel uncomfortable join in out of habit. Lara hides a smile behind her glass. Anna's hand stills around her wine. For a second, the glass trembles in her fingers, catching the candlelight. Her eyes meet Daniel's across the flickering flame. She doesn't speak. The silence inside her feels louder than the laughter around her. Daniel doesn't notice, or maybe he doesn't care. He leans closer to Lara, whispering something that makes her smile again. Anna breathes slowly, the sound of her heartbeat dull under the chatter. Her voice, when it comes, is calm. "Daniel," she says softly, "I do try to understand, you know. Maybe I'll surprise you one day." He waves a hand dismissively, the arrogance still thick in his voice. "Maybe one day you'll understand how complex finance works." A pause. Anna's gaze doesn't flinch. "Maybe sooner than you think." For a brief second, their eyes lock. The flicker between them feels like static tension no one else senses, but the audience can feel in the air. Marianne looks down awkwardly. Someone coughs. A waiter clears plates. The moment passes, but it doesn't fade. Anna forces a smile and stands slowly. "Excuse me," she says, pushing her chair back gently. "I'll just be a moment." As she walks away, the camera follows her reflection in the mirrors along the restaurant wall, one face after another, each version of her more distant, colder. Inside the restroom, she stops before the mirror and exhales, the faintest tremor in her breath. The light above hums softly. Her reflection stares back at her steady, unblinking. She sees the woman everyone calls ordinary, and beneath that, the woman who built an empire in silence. Her eyes harden, but not with anger, with clarity. She remembers a night years ago, Daniel sitting at their small dining table, head in hands, worrying over unpaid bills. She had smiled, told him not to lose hope, and transferred funds quietly through Aurora Capital to cover his first loan. He'd thanked her for believing in him. He never asked where the money came from. The memory fades. Anna smooths her dress, her composure flawless again. But her mind is no longer calm, it's awake. Back at the table, Daniel is laughing again, telling a story about an investor meeting gone wrong. Lara leans close, her hand brushing his under the tablecloth. Anna notices the gesture as she returns, her eyes flicking down once before she sits. She says nothing, not a word. Her face is a calm ocean hiding the storm beneath. The dinner drags on. Courses change. Toasts are made. But Anna's mind drifts elsewhere to numbers, signatures, and the quiet pulse of ownership papers resting in her office drawer at home. The same papers Daniel will soon wish he had read more carefully. When the waiter pours her another glass, she shakes her head. "No, thank you," she murmurs. "I have work to do later." Daniel laughs, not catching the meaning. "Work? Since when do you work, darling?" The others laugh again. Anna's smile barely moves. The flickering candle between them burns lower, its flame shrinking until it looks almost ready to die. The narrator's voice rises gently, cutting through the soft clatter of dessert plates and forced laughter. That night, she didn't cry. She began to calculate. As the camera pans down the length of the table, the candlelight flickers once, casting a brief shadow across Daniel's face, his reflection splitting in two in the glass beside him. A soft, uneasy silence fills the air. Somewhere, far away, a phone vibrates, a message unread, waiting for Anna at home. A name flashes across the unseen screen. Liam. Audit update. And the scene fades to black. By the next sunrise, the woman Daniel mocked would start an investigation that would change everything. The bedroom door slammed softly, but the silence that followed was deafening. The night outside was cold and restless, rain tapping gently against the window. Inside, shadows crawled along the walls, wrapping the room in a heavy stillness. Daniel stumbled in first, the scent of whiskey clinging to him. His tie hung loose, his laughter from dinner long. Gone. "Great night," he muttered, kicking off his shoes. "Investors love me." He dropped onto the bed without looking at Anna, his phone still glowing in his hand. Anna stood near the door, still in her dinner dress, her face unreadable. Her fingers brushed the back of a chair, then tightened until her knuckles turned white. She said nothing. The sound of his shallow breathing soon filled the room as he drifted into half-sleep. Moments later, he mumbled through a slur. "Lara gets me, not like Anna." The words hit like glass shattering inside her chest. Her breath caught, but she didn't cry. Instead, her eyes hardened. reflecting the faint glow of the digital clock beside the bed. Midnight. Anna turned slowly toward the desk near the window. The light from her laptop blinked like a heartbeat. She sat down, opened it, and entered a password, a long, complicated string of numbers only she could remember. The screen came alive. Rows of figures, charts, and transaction histories flooded the display. It wasn't the first time she'd looked. She checked the ledgers of Carter Technologies, Daniel's company, the company she secretly owned through Aurora Capital. For months, something had felt wrong. Now she could see it clearly. Transfers that didn't add up. Payments to an unfamiliar name, LRS Consulting. At first glance, it looked harmless. A vendor, a contractor, but the initials caught her eye. LRS, Lara. Her pulse quickened. She clicked deeper, opening bank statements, timestamps, invoice attachments. Her background in finance took over like muscle memory. She began connecting the dots. Money meant for product development had been rerouted. Small amounts at first, then larger ones, hundreds of thousands. Daniel wasn't just careless. He was complicit. Anna leaned back, her chest rising slowly. The pain that had sat in her throat all night began to change shape, hardening into something colder, clearer. She opened another encrypted folder. Inside were her Aurora Capital records, proof of her majority investment. She compared ownership seals and signatures, each one bearing the quiet truth Daniel never knew. She controlled the company's foundation. The sound of Daniel's soft snoring filled the background. Her face softened for just a second, grief flickering through. She had loved this man once, enough to give up her career, her time, her dreams. She'd built him an empire in silence, and now he was selling pieces of it to his mistress. Anna whispered under her breath, "You thought I was ordinary. You never looked close enough." The rain outside grew heavier, streaking the glass with blurred reflections of the glowing numbers on her screen. She opened a secure chat and typed a message to Liam, her former colleague and trusted auditor. "Anna, run a trace on LRS Consulting. I need every document, every link to the company. Don't ask questions." Liam. "Understood." She stared at the blue check, mark confirming delivery, then slowly closed her laptop. The faint light faded, leaving only her face in the dark, a mix of sorrow and resolve. As she turned off the lamp, Daniel mumbled something incoherent, rolling over. She watched him quietly, her expression neither angry nor broken, just distant, calculating. The camera closes in on her eyes. They no longer reflect the pain of betrayal, but the focus of a strategist. The narrator's voice cuts in, calm and steady. When love stopped being her reason to stay, truth became her reason to act. Lightning flashes outside, illuminating the documents still open on her desk. LRS, Aurora, Carter Technologies, all connected in one faint web of deceit. In the distance, thunder rumbles low, like an omen. By the next sunrise, she wouldn't just be a wife. She'd become an investigator, and Daniel's silence would be her first clue. The printer roared to life before the sun had fully risen. Pages slid out one after another, covered in black lines of figures and signatures. The sound was sharp, relentless like a storm of paper. The room smelled of ink and coffee. Anna Carter sat perfectly still in her private study, her eyes locked on the printed pages as they collected into neat piles. Every sheet held a truth she had once buried and a weapon she now intended to use. The morning light cut through the curtains, landing across framed photos on the shelf. A younger Anna with her father, a powerful man known for his quiet empire of investments. Her father's voice echoed faintly in her memory. "Power isn't loud, Anna. It's the hand that signs the paper no one else reads." A soft knock broke her focus. She closed her eyes briefly, gathering herself. "Come in." The door opened, and Robert Hayes, her longtime family lawyer, entered. He was in his early 50s, calm and meticulous, his gray suit pressed to perfection. Behind him walked Clara Vance, Anna's accountant, mid-30s. Sharp-eyed, loyal since Anna's early analyst days. Robert placed a folder on her desk. "We've confirmed it," he said, sliding the papers toward her. "Through Aurora Capital, you own 51% of Carter Technologies. Legally, that gives you full control of company decisions." Clara nodded, her tone measured but firm. "We also traced the LRS Consulting account you mentioned last night. It's registered under Lara Mason's name. Payments totaled just under $400,000, all unauthorized transfers. Anna didn't flinch. Her eyes scanned the numbers, line by line, as the realization settled into a quiet certainty. "So," she said softly, closing the folder. "Lara and Daniel used my own company to fund their affair." Robert hesitated. "Do you want me to confront him? Or file the motion immediately?" Anna shook her head. Her voice was calm, almost gentle, the stillness before a wave breaks. "No, not yet. Timing matters more than anger. Let him think he's untouchable a little longer." Clara watched her carefully. "What's your next move?" Anna stood, walking to the window. The city stretched out beneath her sharp lines. Cold glass, the world Daniel believed he ruled. "We prepare everything quietly," she said. "An internal audit, legal documentation. The board doesn't need to know until it's too late." She turned back to them, the faintest smile touching her lips. "When he mocked me for being ordinary, he never imagined I could end his career with one signature." The printer spat out the final page. Anna gathered the stack and placed it into a black leather folder. Embossed in gold were the words, "Board meeting, confidential." Robert glanced at it, then at her. "He'll never see this coming." Anna's tone was steady, but her eyes carried quiet fire. "That's the point." The sound of her pen clicking echoed through the room as she signed the final document authorizing the audit. Each stroke of ink felt deliberate, like writing the first line of a verdict. As Robert and Clara left, Anna stayed behind, staring at the papers spread before her. Her reflection in the glass behind them looked calm, but her mind was racing, every betrayal, every laugh at her expense, every secret she had kept. Now the silence would speak louder than any argument. The camera lingered on her hand as she sealed the folder and slid it into her drawer. The faint thud of the wood closing was like a drumbeat marking the start of her quiet war. The narrator's voice cut in, low and deliberate. The woman he mocked for being ordinary was preparing a lesson that would echo in every boardroom. Outside, thunder rolled again, the same storm that began the night before, now moving closer. And while he slept soundly beside another woman, she began drafting the document that would end them both. The sound of clicking heels echoed sharply across the marble floor before the door slammed shut. Inside the glass-walled conference room of Carter Technologies, tension simmered beneath polished smiles. The table was long, glossy, and spotless, except for the stack of confidential documents placed neatly in the center. Lara Mason, Daniel's assistant and secret mistress, leaned over the table, her perfume lingering in the air like a warning. Her tone was sweet but calculated. "Daniel, this transfer will help you," she said, her voice smooth, confident. "Moving some assets into LRS Consulting will protect your profits before tax season hits." She adjusted her blazer, the silver chain around her wrist glinting in the light. "It's just smart business. Every CEO does it." Daniel sat across from her, brows furrowed, his pen rolling between his fingers. "You're sure this won't raise red flags?" "The auditors have been restless lately." Lara smiled, walking behind his chair. "Relax," she whispered, resting a hand on his shoulder. "It's my company. I'll handle the paperwork. You'll just sign the authorization. Simple as that." He looked up at her, hesitant but eager for her approval. He'd always liked how she made him feel powerful, wanted, understood. "You really think this will help us?" he asked. "It'll help you, Daniel," she replied softly, her tone slipping between charm and control. "And when your investor finally reveals themselves, you'll look like a genius who's doubled profits overnight." She slid the papers toward him, her manicured nails tapping the signature line. The camera zoomed in on the moment, the hesitation, the pride, and finally the sound of his pen scratching across the paper. Outside the conference room, through the tinted glass, a man sat quietly in a small break area pretending to scroll through his phone. He was Liam Brooks, Anna's trusted investigator. Mid-30 seconds, precise and discreet, he had been hired through Anna's lawyer after the audit authorization. His phone camera clicked once, then again capturing each signature, timestamp, and document code. Behind his calm exterior, his mind was racing. He'd been a forensic analyst once, and even without reading the papers, he recognized the layout. A disguised asset transfer, perfectly designed to hide fraud under consulting expenses. Inside, Lara was laughing now, leaning close to Daniel. "You'll thank me later," she said, voice dipped in sugar. Daniel smiled, tucking the papers into a briefcase. You're brilliant, Lara. I don't know what I'd do without you. Outside the glass, Liam's reflection flickered against the conference door as he sent a photo file to Anna's encrypted inbox. He added only one line. Liam. He signed. Money trail confirmed. Moments later, Anna's phone buzzed in her quiet office miles away. She opened the message, her eyes calm but sharp as she scrolled through the images. Every document, every number, every proof she needed. Her lips curved slightly, not in joy, but in quiet satisfaction. Every lie he told, she whispered, is now a number in my file. Back in the conference room, Daniel and Lara clinked their glasses of champagne, celebrating what they thought was a victory. Behind them, the reflection of the city skyline shimmered against the window, divided by faint streaks of rain. As the camera lingered, a distant thunder rolled again, soft, slow, and ominous. Lara leaned close to Daniel, murmuring something in his ear that made him laugh. But in the reflection on the glass behind them, the lens of Liam's hidden camera glowed faintly red, still recording. The narrator's voice entered, low and deliberate. He thought he was building an empire with his lover. He didn't know his wife was already building his downfall. The screen faded slowly to black as the faint sound of a file being uploaded echoed digital proof moving quietly toward its final destination. By the rending, the time he realized the walls were closing in, she'd already built them herself. The night began with the fierce rhythm of rain slamming against the windows. Lightning flashed across the city skyline, briefly illuminating the polished marble of Anna Carter's dining room. The storm outside was loud, almost theatrical, but inside, everything was calm, deliberate, and eerily quiet. Anna sat alone at the long dining table, the same one that had witnessed years of family dinners, laughter, and quiet betrayal. In front of her, a stack of ivory envelopes waited to be sealed. Each one was marked with gold-embossed letters. Carter Technologies, Anniversary Celebration. Her fountain pen moved with purpose, her handwriting elegant, unwavering. She wasn't shaking. She wasn't crying. Every stroke of ink was a decision made long before tonight, a move in a game she had already won in silence. At the head of the table sat her leather folder labeled Ownership Papers, Aurora Capital. Its edges gleamed faintly under the chandelier's light, the gold lettering cold and final. The door opened softly behind her. Robert Hayes, her lawyer, stepped in, umbrella dripping rain onto the floor. You're working late, he said, removing his coat. Are you sure about this? It'll be public. Anna didn't look up. Yes, she said. That's the point. He sat across from her, studying her face. You could simply file the documents, take control quietly. No one would have to know. She paused, sealing another envelope with a golden wax stamp. The seal pressed down with a soft click. I don't want to destroy him in anger, Robert, she said calmly. I want the truth to humiliate him on its own. The lawyer leaned back, exhaling slowly. Then you've chosen the perfect stage. Anna placed another invitation beside the growing pile. The guest list was carefully crafted: family, board members, investors, even a few close friends of Daniel's, all the people who had heard him boast, all the ones who had laughed when he called her ordinary. The company's anniversary dinner, she murmured. That's when I'll show them who really built it. Robert's eyes softened. Your father would be proud of how you've handled this, she smiled faintly. He always said patience is power. I used to think he meant waiting for success. Now I understand he meant waiting for the truth. The storm eased for a moment, and the city lights flickered beyond the window. Anna gathered the sealed invitations into a silver tray, her movements precise. Her reflection shimmered faintly in the glass, calm, composed, unstoppable. As Robert stood to leave, she said quietly, Send the audit results to my private account. I'll bring the rest to the dinner myself. He nodded. And Daniel? Anna's voice was almost a whisper. He'll get his invitation last. The scene slowed. The camera lingered on her hand as she slid the final envelope into a golden envelope box. Her eyes lingered on it for a second longer, not with anger, but with certainty. The narrator's voice entered softly, layered over the sound of distant thunder. The woman he mocked for being ordinary was preparing a dinner that would rewrite their history. Anna stood, closing the folder marked Ownership Papers, and placed it carefully into her handbag. The faint hum of the rain returned, as if the world outside already knew what was coming. As she turned off the dining room light, The reflection of the city skyline gleamed across the window, tall, cold, and waiting. The next time they dined together, every smile at the table would shatter. The chandeliers blazed with gold light, reflecting off crystal glasses and polished silverware. Laughter rippled through the grand dining hall of the Royal Meridian Hotel, where the air carried the smell of expensive wine and quiet arrogance. Every seat around the long mahogany table was filled. Family, investors, board members, and executives all gathered to celebrate the 5th anniversary of Carter Technologies. At the head of the table stood Daniel Carter, dressed in a dark, tailored suit, eyes gleaming with confidence. His arm brushed briefly against Laura Mason, seated beside him in a crimson dress that drew glances from more than one guest. The image was perfect: the successful CEO, the devoted wife beside him, and the glamorous assistant who seemed just a little too close. But something in the air was different tonight, a stillness beneath the chatter. Anna Carter, seated quietly across from Daniel, had never looked calmer. Her ivory gown shimmered softly under the lights, her hair swept up elegantly. There was no trace of nervousness, only a controlled serenity that unsettled anyone who looked too long. Daniel tapped his glass, and the room quieted. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began with his signature grin. 5 years ago, Carter Technologies was just an idea in a small apartment. Tonight we stand as one of the most promising firms in the country. Applause erupted. He lifted his glass higher. But none of this would be possible without the mystery investor who believed in us, whoever they are. He laughed, expecting everyone else to join. They did. The sound rolled like thunder until it reached Anna, who sat perfectly still, hands folded on her lap. Her smile was small, knowing, almost too calm. Lara leaned in, whispering something to Daniel. He chuckled again, unaware that the woman he was mocking was the very foundation beneath his success. Then as the laughter began to fade, Anna slowly rose from her seat. The movement drew every eye toward her. Her voice, when she spoke, was soft but firm enough to slice through the hum of the room. "That would be me." Silence fell instantly. Forks stopped midair. Conversations died. The air froze. Daniel blinked, confused. What do you mean?" Anna met his gaze. "I'm the investor you've been thanking all these years. Aurora Capital is mine." A ripple of murmurs swept through the table. Laura's smile faltered. Daniel laughed weakly, searching for support in the faces around him. "You're joking, right?" Anna's tone didn't waver. "Do I look like I'm joking?" She reached into her bag and placed a black leather folder on the table, the same one that had been waiting for this moment. The golden lettering gleamed under the chandelier. "Ownership papers, Aurora Capital." Gasps filled the room as she opened it with quiet precision. Inside were notarized documents, signed and sealed proof of her 51% ownership of Carter Technologies, along with audit reports and evidence of financial misconduct. Anna nodded slightly toward Robert Hayes, her lawyer, who stood discreetly near the back. He stepped forward, expression unreadable, and began distributing the documents to the board members seated nearby. The whispering grew louder: disbelief, shock, confusion. Daniel's voice cracked as he leaned forward. "You can't be serious." Anna looked at him, her expression calm, but her words cut clean. "I was serious the day I believed in you. You stopped deserving that a long time ago." Laura's face went pale. Her hand trembled slightly as she pushed her chair back. She understood before anyone else her name was on those documents too. The evidence tied her directly to the fraudulent consulting firm. Her eyes darted to Daniel's, but he was too stunned to notice. Across the table, one board member cleared his throat awkwardly. "Mr. Carter, the audit indicates unauthorized transfers. This could mean embezzlement." Daniel's composure cracked. "This is ridiculous. She's trying to ruin me." Anna's gaze remained steady. "No, Daniel, you ruined yourself when you forgot who believed in you." For a moment, the only sound was the faint clicking of cameras. Reporters in the corner, invited under the guise of company publicity. Their lenses captured everything. Daniel's disbelief, Laura's guilt, Anna's poise. Anna turned slightly toward the crowd, her voice steady and controlled. "I invested because I believed in what this company could become, but I also believe in accountability." She paused, her eyes meeting Daniel's one last time. "Tonight, I reclaim what was always mine." The entire room seemed to hold its breath. Daniel sank back into his chair, speechless, his face pale under the harsh lights. Lara slipped away quietly, head bowed, her heels echoing down the marble hall. Anna closed the folder slowly, sealing the end of his illusion with the same calm precision she had used to build it. The narrator's voice entered softly, each word deliberate. The woman he mocked for being ordinary had just rewritten his legacy. The sound of applause began not for Daniel, but for Anna. A quiet, respectful wave that grew as realization spread across the room. Anna turned toward the window, the city lights glimmering in her eyes. For the first time in years, she looked free. Then her lawyer leaned close and whispered, "There's one more detail. Mrs. Carter tomorrow's court summons." Her calm expression didn't change. She simply nodded. The screen lingered on her reflection in the window power, peace, and the faint glimmer of sorrow. By morning, his empire would crumble, and her silence would be the sound of justice. The boardroom was tense from the moment the door closed. The morning light spilled through the tall glass windows, harsh and cold, cutting across the long oak table like a spotlight. Every chair was filled company executives, lawyers, and auditors, their expressions a mix of confusion, discomfort, and anticipation. At the head of the table sat Anna Carter, dressed in a sharp black suit, her presence calm but commanding. The same. People who once looked past her now couldn't meet her eyes. Across from her, Daniel Carter slumped in his chair, eyes bloodshot from a sleepless night. The faint sound of camera shutters echoed from the hallway. The press already knew something was happening. The room smelled faintly of coffee and tension. Papers shuffled, voices whispered. Then Anna spoke quiet, steady, devastating. "This emergency meeting," she began, "concerns evidence of financial misconduct and breach of fiduciary duty by the company's chief executive officer, Mr. Daniel Carter." A ripple of whispers followed. Daniel straightened, voice rough. "You can't be serious. You're making a mistake, Anna." Her gaze didn't waver. "The mistake was trusting you to protect what I built." She nodded toward Robert Hayes, her lawyer, seated beside her. He rose, opening a folder filled with documents marked confidential. Audit report. His voice was professional, unemotional. "Our forensic investigation uncovered unauthorized transfers totaling $400,000 to an external firm, LRS Consulting, owned by Miss Lara Mason. We also have evidence of falsified expense reports and concealed profits." Gasps filled the room. Someone muttered, "Lara Mason? That's his assistant." Daniel slammed a hand on the table. "You think I'd risk everything for?" He stopped himself, eyes darting to the faces around him, to the people who no longer looked at him with admiration but pity. Robert continued, "Under Section 14 of the Corporate Ethics Code, this constitutes fraud and conflict of interest. As majority shareholder, Mrs. Carter has called for an immediate vote to remove Mr. Carter from his position as CEO." Daniel's face drained of color. "You can't do that. This company is mine." Anna's tone was cool, surgical. "No, Daniel, it's ours. But only one of us kept it honest." The board members exchanged uncertain looks, then, one by one, began to nod. A motion was passed. Hands were raised. The vote was unanimous. The silence that followed was heavier than any argument could have been. Daniel sat frozen as the words left Robert's mouth. "Effective immediately, Mr. Daniel Carter is removed as Chief Executive Officer of Carter Technologies." Lara wasn't present, but her name appeared again as Robert slid another document forward. "Miss Mason is to be included in the formal investigation. Legal proceedings will begin within 48 hours. Daniel's voice broke. "Anna, please, don't do this. You're destroying everything." Anna looked at him for a long moment, not angry, not cold, just distant. "No, Daniel, you did that yourself. I'm just cleaning what's left." He opened his mouth again, but no words came. The man who once filled rooms with confidence now looked small, fragile, a shadow of the empire he'd boasted about. Anna closed her folder gently, as if ending a meeting rather than a marriage. "This session is adjourned." The sound of chairs sliding back filled the silence, followed by the slow click of her heels as she stood. Her lawyer gathered the documents. The executives avoided Daniel's eyes as they filed out. The camera lingered on Daniel, still seated, staring blankly at the table. His reflection in the polished surface was warped, broken. Cut to his office, the nameplate, Daniel Carter, CEO, being removed from the door. A box of personal belongings sits half-filled on his desk. A photo of him and Anna at their wedding, a company award, a silver pen. As the box is carried out, the sound of a gavel echoes faintly in the background, a symbolic sound overlay of justice being served. Anna watches from the hallway, her face expressionless. Yet in her eyes, there's a quiet ache, the kind that comes not from vengeance, but from truth finally spoken. The narrator's voice enters softly, almost like a closing note. Her silence became her sentence and his downfall. The camera pans out through the glass wall, showing Daniel's empty office and Anna's steady reflection watching from outside, two sides of the same story, now divided forever. But justice, once set in motion, never stops, and by evening, one final truth would still come knocking. The sound of rain filled the marble lobby like soft applause from the heavens, steady, endless, cleansing. The once grand building of Carter Technology stood quieter now, stripped of its noise and pride. The logo on the glass doors gleamed faintly, but the man who had once stood beneath it with confidence was a shadow of himself. Daniel Carter sat alone on a lobby bench, his suit wrinkled, his tie loose, a folder clutched in trembling hands. For weeks, he'd avoided this moment, too proud, too ashamed. But now, desperation had replaced ego. He needed to see her, needed to say the words he should have said long ago. The elevator chimed. Its mirrored doors opened with a whisper. Anna Carter stepped out, graceful and calm, her presence commanding even in silence. She wore a tailored gray suit, elegant yet simple, her expression unreadable. Two security guards stepped aside as she approached, but she waved them off gently. Daniel stood abruptly, his breath catching. Anna? Her name came out, broken, almost pleading. She stopped a few feet from him. The distance between them felt heavier than ever, not just physical, but made of years of trust broken and love wasted. I didn't know, he blurted, voice shaking. I swear, Anna, I didn't know it was you. I was stupid. Her eyes softened, but not with sympathy, with understanding. No, she said quietly, her tone even and precise. It wasn't stupidity, Daniel. It was disrespect. He looked down, shame swallowing his words. I was blinded by pride, by everything. I thought you didn't understand what I was doing. Anna stepped closer, just enough that he could see the steadiness in her eyes. I understood more than you ever imagined. I understood how you treated people you thought were beneath you, how easily you traded respect for admiration. Daniel's throat tightened. I lost everything, he said, his voice breaking. The company, my reputation, even Lara left. I have nothing left, Anna. She tilted her head slightly. You still have the one thing I can't give back: time to learn from it. He blinked, his hands trembling around the folder. Can you ever forgive me? Anna's answer was soft, deliberate. Forgiveness isn't something I owe you, Daniel. But peace, that's something I can choose. She pulled a pen from her folder and signed the last page of his severance agreement. The sound of the pen scratching across the paper was final, sharp, like the closing of a book. She slid it toward him. This ends everything, she said calmly. You're free to start over, away from what you destroyed. He took the paper, staring at her signature, then at her face, the same face he had once dismissed as ordinary. Now, it was the face of someone untouchable, someone who didn't need revenge to win. She had already risen above it. He whispered, You were always smarter than me. Anna gave a faint smile, not smug, not cold, just sad. No, Daniel, I was never trying to be smarter. I was just trying to be respected. She turned then, her heels echoing softly against the marble floor. The glass doors ahead reflected her figure, straight, composed, radiant against the city's gray morning light. Daniel's reflection behind her looked smaller, fading into the background like the echo of an old mistake. As she stepped through the lobby doors, the wind caught her hair, carrying a faint scent of jasmine, the same perfume she wore on the night of their first date. It lingered briefly before fading into the pouring rain. Daniel stood frozen, eyes glistening. He whispered to himself, I never saw who she really was. Outside, Anna walked under her umbrella through the soft drizzle, her expression calm. Behind her, the building his empire stood tall but hollow. The woman he'd once called ordinary had taken everything from him without raising her voice. without shouting, without revenge born of rage. Only quiet justice. The narrator's voice entered, measured, and poetic. She never raised her voice. She raised her value. The camera followed Anna's steps as she disappeared into the city crowd, a symbol of quiet strength, walking toward her new life. As the rain grew heavier, Daniel's severance papers fluttered from his trembling hand to the floor, her signature glowing faintly under the lobby lights. But as she left that building behind, another truth waited for her, one she never expected to face. The wind was sharp and cool on the rooftop of Carter Technology's headquarters, carrying the scent of rain and the first light of dawn. The city below began to stir, cars humming faintly, windows flickering awake one by one. Golden sunlight cut through the fading clouds, painting the skyline in amber and rose. It was the same city Anna Carter had watched for years through her kitchen window, back when she was the quiet wife of a man who thought she was invisible. Now, she stood at its peak. The company name glimmered behind her in steel letters, her reflection shining faintly against them. She wore a crisp white suit, her hair neatly pinned, a folder tucked under her arm. Every movement was deliberate, steady. The storm that had once surrounded her was gone. In its place was peace, silent, powerful peace. The door behind her opened softly. Clara Vance, her trusted accountant and now chief financial officer, stepped out with a cup of coffee. "You've been up here since before sunrise," she said gently. Anna smiled faintly. "I used to wake up early to make coffee for someone else," she said, looking at the horizon. "Now I wake up for myself." Clara joined her at the railing, glancing at the view. "The board finalized the new policy drafts," she said. "Ethics, equal pay, whistleblower protection, everything you suggested." Anna nodded. "Then it's time to make it official." She handed Clara the folder and watched as the wind caught a few loose pages, fluttering them toward the light before Clara gathered them again. "You've done it, Anna," Clara said softly. "You rebuilt what he tried to own." Anna looked out over the city again, her voice calm and reflective. "He wanted the world to see me as ordinary," she said slowly. "I only had to show them the truth." Her tone carried no bitterness, no triumph, only truth. A pause settled between them, filled only by the sound of the wind and distant city life below. Anna closed her eyes briefly, feeling the warmth of the sunrise on her face. In that light, she didn't look like a woman who'd won a war. She looked like someone who had simply returned to herself. Inside, through the rooftop glass, employees were beginning to fill the lobby below, new faces, new energy. On the giant digital display in the main hall, a message appeared under the company logo. "Integrity before ambition, a new era for Carter Technologies." Anna watched it from above, her reflection overlapping the message like a ghost of the past, turning into its author. Her phone buzzed once in her pocket, a message from her lawyer, Robert. Case against Daniel and Lara settled. Both accepted full accountability. No further contact required. She read it, exhaled slowly, and turned off the screen. For the first time in years, she felt no anger, no ache, only release. Clara smiled quietly beside her. "What will you do now?" Anna looked toward the horizon, her eyes soft but bright. "Live," she said. "Not for revenge, not for approval. Just live." The camera slowly pulled back the rooftop, the skyline, the light growing stronger. Anna stood still, a calm figure against the awakening city, a symbol of what it means to rise without rage, to win without shouting. The narrator's voice entered one last time, steady and reverent. She didn't rebuild her life to prove him wrong. She rebuilt it to remember who she was before he made her forget. Anna turned toward the glass door, ready to step back into her new world. Before she left, she paused for one last glance at the sun cresting the horizon. The golden light touched her face, illuminating every line of grace and strength she had earned through silence, through patience, through truth. A faint smile curved her lips. "Every dawn begins with darkness," she whispered, "but not every darkness ends without light." She walked back inside as the camera lingered on the rising sun over the city. The same light that had deafened, once poured into her small kitchen inn. Anna's story reminds us that silence is not weakness, it's focus. That dignity can be the loudest form of revenge. And that the truth, when revealed with patience and grace, doesn't just destroy lies, it rebuilds power. She never needed to shout to be heard. The truth spoke for her. When Ryan Ward kicked his pregnant wife out of their mansion at midnight, he believed he was finally free. Free from what he called a dead-weight marriage and a woman who had nothing to offer. He didn't know he had just destroyed himself. Emily Ward stood on the front steps, barefoot, her suitcase sliding from her trembling hands. Behind her, the door slammed shut, and through the tall windows, she saw Ryan's mistress, Vanessa Hale, swirling a glass of champagne, laughing like she'd won. The neighbors whispered, the lights across the street flickered, and somewhere deep in Emily's phone, an unread message glowed. Your father prepared for this. To the world, her father had died an ordinary man. But buried beneath years of secrecy was a legacy worth hundreds of millions, and a clause written in ink that would make Emily the rightful heir once she was betrayed. That night, Ryan thought he had ended her story. What he didn't know was that he had just triggered her inheritance, her revenge, and the quiet rise of the woman who would one day own everything he built and everything he lost. Hello, family. Welcome back. Before we begin, please click subscribe. Every single click helps us tell stories of courage and truth, and in the comments, tell us where you're watching from. Because when we share these stories together, we remind each other that even in pain, we can rise. Pack your things and get out! Ryan Ward's roar shook the marble-floored living room. A glass of whiskey slammed against the wall, splintering into amber rain. Emily flinched, clutching her round belly, as if protecting the tiny heartbeat inside. She stood barefoot in her pale nightgown, her long brown hair tangled from sleepless nights. Ryan, please, she begged softly. I just need time. The hospital bills my check clears next week. Ryan's jaw flexed, eyes glinting like shards of ice. Time? You've had years, Emily. You're nothing but dead weight. The words struck like bullets. I married you out of pity, not potential. You've done nothing but drag me down. A cruel laugh came from behind him. Victoria Hale, his business consultant, leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, perfume thick in the air. Her red lips curled. She's just emotional, Ryan. Pregnancy hormones, she cooed, pretending concern while feeding the fire. Emily's eyes darted toward her. You shouldn't even be here, she whispered, trembling. Victoria smirked. Oh, sweetheart, I've been here long before tonight. He just finally stopped pretending. The air turned heavy. Emily's heartbeat thundered in her ears. She took a shaky step closer to Ryan, tears streaking down her cheeks. After everything I gave up for you, my father's company offer, my job, Ryan barked a laugh. Your father? That broke dreamer who died with debt? Please. I built everything here. You just lived in it. The insult sliced through her like glass. She pressed her lips together, refusing to cry harder. The humiliation, gaslighting, and emotional abuse filled every inch of that glittering house. From outside, a soft voice broke through the tension. Mrs. Green, their elderly neighbor, stood at the doorway, clutching her cardigan. Ryan, she's pregnant. Don't do this, son. Not tonight. He turned, snapping. Stay out of this, Mrs. Green. She's not my problem anymore. Emily's suitcase, already packed by the maid under Victoria's orders, sat near the staircase. She stared at it, realizing the betrayal was premeditated. Ryan had planned her removal like a business deal. Her shaking hands reached for the suitcase handle, but her voice came out calm, chilling even to herself. One day, Ryan, you'll wish you hadn't called me dead weight. Ryan smirked, pouring another drink. The only thing heavy about you is your silence. Now take it with you. The front door creaked open. The night wind was cold, almost cleansing. Mrs. Green whispered, You're stronger than you think, dear. Sometimes silence has power. Emily stepped onto the porch, moonlight washing her tears. Her phone vibrated. She glanced down. Unknown number. Your father prepared for this. Her throat tightened. Her father, gone for years, had left nothing but questions, but that single message felt like a promise from beyond. As Emily walked away under the cold night sky, Victoria's laughter echoed through the mansion. Inside, Ryan's voice boomed again. Tomorrow we celebrate freedom. But by tomorrow night, that very word freedom would destroy him. The music was deafening. Glasses clinked. Laughter spilled like cheap champagne across the rooftop of the Meridian Hotel, where city lights shimmered and lies wore diamonds. Ryan Ward stood in the center, dressed in a navy tuxedo, his smile wider than his conscience. in his hand a glass raised high. "To freedom!" he shouted over the crowd. "To a future without dead weight." Everyone laughed, not knowing his pregnant wife was walking alone somewhere in the cold night. Vanessa Hale, a glamorous woman with crimson lipstick and eyes like sharp glass, looped her arm through Ryan's and kissed his cheek. "Freedom never looked so handsome," she purred. Vanessa wasn't just a mistress, she was his new business partner and the architect of his destruction. The guests, investors, friends, influencers erupted in applause. Among them stood Victoria Hale, Vanessa's cousin, and the same woman who'd filmed Emily's humiliation the night before. She raised her phone again, capturing Ryan's toast for social media. "You've got to show people what a real power couple looks like," she whispered. Ryan smirked. "Oh, they'll see power tonight." But at the corner table, one man didn't laugh. Blake Turner, a seasoned investor with gray at his temples, and the suspicion in his eyes swirled his drink silently. He'd known Ryan for years and had always wondered how he expanded his real estate firm so quickly. As he watched Vanessa's rings sparkle under the golden lights, his gut twisted. "Something's off," he murmured to himself. Vanessa clinked her glass. "Don't look so serious, Blake. Love and money, the best investments." Blake's voice was cool. "Maybe, unless the paperwork isn't clean." Ryan's eyes narrowed, but his smile stayed fixed. "Relax, Blake. Everything's handled. The prenup is airtight." She left with nothing. The word echoed in his mind. Prenup. The ironclad prenup he had made Emily sign the week she learned she was pregnant. It stated that if she left him, she'd lose all rights to his assets, but he never imagined there was something larger at play, something beyond his reach. As the laughter roared again, Vanessa leaned in, whispering in his ear, "You're finally free, Ryan. Now you can take full control. And once my cousin finishes editing that clip of Emily crying on the floor, the whole city will side with you." Ryan grinned, raising his glass once more. To new beginnings. But outside, a different kind of beginning was already unfolding. Emily, guided by that strange text from the unknown number, had taken the night bus toward the city. Her hand clutched her belly. Her mind replayed his words, dead weight. She didn't know yet that her father's name still lingered in the boardrooms of the same skyline that glittered before him. Back on the rooftop, Blake's phone buzzed with a notification, a news alert, about a reopened corporate trust fund tied to Ward Holdings. His brow furrowed. "Ward Holdings," he muttered. "Isn't that Emily's maiden name?" Ryan didn't hear him. He was too busy basking in the cheers, in the illusion of victory. As Ryan lifted his glass again, lightning flickered in the distance far beyond the city's glow, and Blake Turner whispered to himself, "No contract stays clean forever." And by the next morning, he'd be right. The morning headlines hit like gunfire. Ryan Ward celebrates freedom with new love. Photos of Ryan and Vanessa Hale laughing at the rooftop party spread across every gossip site. One image showed him mid-toast. The caption, cruelly bold, "To freedom, the CEO moves on." Across town, Emily Ward sat in a small diner booth, her trembling fingers wrapped around a cup of untouched coffee. Her belly shifted gently beneath her coat, a soft reminder of the life she was fighting for. The waitress slid her a newspaper, pity in her eyes. "Honey, you should see this before everyone else does." Emily looked down and froze. There she was, mentioned in the second paragraph. Sources say his ex-wife struggled financially and emotionally during pregnancy. Close friends claim she was unfit to manage the household. Betrayal. Character assassination. Each word sank like a knife. At a corner table, Mrs. Turner, an older neighbor from her old street, gossiped loudly to another woman. "I heard she was unstable." Poor Ryan had no choice. Emily's eyes stung, but she stayed silent. Her father once said, "Never fight lies with noise, fight with truth." Across town, Ryan leaned back in his office chair, feet on the desk, scrolling through the article with satisfaction. "Perfect optics," he said smugly. "Public sympathy's mine." Victoria Hale, Vanessa's cousin and his PR accomplice, stood nearby, grinning. "We spun it well. Everyone believes you were the victim of an emotional breakdown." Vanessa brushed his shoulder with her manicured hand. "Now that she's out, we can focus on what matters, expanding the business. And don't worry, I told Trevor to handle those accounts." At that name, Ryan frowned. "Trevor Cole? He's just my accountant. Keep him quiet." Victoria smirked. "Quiet is expensive, Ryan." But I already paid him to stay loyal. Trevor Cole, sitting in a downtown cafe across from them, wasn't loyal at all. The thin accountant scrolled through his messages, shaking his head. He'd just received an anonymous email. "You've been named in a financial audit. Talk now or fall with him." Sweat gathered at his temple. The whisper network of corruption had begun to crack. Meanwhile, Emily paid for her untouched coffee and stepped out into the wind. She spotted two women whispering by the bus stop, both glancing at her. The first whispered, "That's her, the wife he dumped." The second muttered, "She looks lost." Humiliation burned through her, but only for a second. She exhaled deeply and whispered to herself, "They can keep their pity. I'll keep my truth." As she walked away, her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Find Clara Reed. Her breath caught. Clara, her old college roommate, was now a respected lawyer. Her father had trusted Clara once, years ago, to draft emergency papers. Emily suddenly understood. That mysterious message wasn't random. Someone was guiding her. The reflection in a store window showed her tear-streaked face harden into quiet resolve. The soft wife had vanished. In her place stood a woman preparing for war. As Emily disappeared into the gray morning, the newspaper in the trash fluttered open in the wind, revealing one small headline few noticed. Ward Holdings, Legacy Trust reinstated under confidential clause. And somewhere downtown, a lawyer named Clara Reed was already waiting for her call. The sound of heavy rain against glass echoed through the quiet law office as Emily Ward burst through the door, soaked to the skin, clutching her phone. "I need to see Clara Reed," she gasped, her breath uneven. Behind a sleek walnut desk, Clara Reed, a calm, sharp-eyed woman in her mid-30s, looked up from her laptop. She wore a navy blazer and the kind of confidence that came from surviving her own storms. "Emily?" she said softly, standing. "It's been years," Emily's voice cracked. "I got a message it said to find you." Clara closed the door, locking it. "Then it started," she murmured, pulling out a folder with Emily's maiden name, Ward, embossed on it. "Your father told me this day would come." Emily froze. "My father?" Clara nodded gravely. "Before he passed, Henry Ward gave me sealed instructions, a private trust document only to be opened if you were ever betrayed in marriage. He never trusted Ryan. He said, and I quote, 'One day the mask will slip.'" Emily's knees weakened. She sank into the chair opposite Clara as thunder rolled outside. Clara placed the folder on the table and opened it. Inside were property deeds, signed affidavits, notarized company shares, and a letter labeled, "For Emily only if wronged." The room fell silent. Emily's trembling fingers brushed the edges of the documents. All this time, he left something? From the corner, Sam Hayes, a private investigator and one of Clara's most loyal associates, stepped forward. Tall, quiet, with a face carved by experience, he spoke in a low voice. "Your father built layers of protection, Emily shell companies, legal trusts, hidden assets. Ward Holdings wasn't dissolved. It was hidden." Emily looked up, eyes wide. "Hidden? Why?" "Because your father knew the world," Clara said gently. "He knew greedy men like Ryan would come for you the moment they smelled weakness. Henry wanted you to have power when you needed it most." Emily's tears fell silently. Female resilience, legacy, father's wisdom, trust, and dignity under fire wrapped around her like armor. "Ryan called me dead weight," she whispered, voice shaking. "But my father saw me as strength." Clara leaned forward, tone firm. "Then let's use that strength. These documents prove Ryan owes the Ward Trust $20 million in unpaid investment returns. You can take back what's yours legally, quietly," Sam added. "But you'll need patience. If he thinks you're weak, he'll reveal every card he's hiding." Emily wiped her tears, a spark of determination rising. "Then I'll play along. Let him think I'm broken." Clara smiled faintly. "That's exactly what your father would have done." Outside, the storm began to ease. Inside, Emily straightened her posture. The helpless woman who begged on the porch was gone. In her place stood a strategist, calm, wounded, but rising. As Clara slid the folder toward her, a single gold seal caught the light stamped with the Ward family crest. "You're not just Henry Ward's daughter anymore," Clara said quietly. "You're his heir, but someone else already suspects that." And far across town, A nervous accountant named Trevor Cole was about to make the first mistake of his life. The sound of printer machines whirring filled the office. Pages of forensic documents, bank statements, and wire transfers slid out one by one, piling into a mountain of proof. Emily Ward stood at the center of it all, her hands trembling slightly as she read the first sheet. "This can't be real," she whispered. "Ryan's been stealing from his investors?" Clara Reed, sharp as ever, adjusted her glasses. "Not just investors. He's been embezzling from the same capital your father loaned him. Every dollar he used to start his empire came from Henry Ward's trust, and he never paid it back." Sam Hayes, the private investigator, stood by the whiteboard plastered with sticky notes and red strings connecting Ryan's fake companies. "See these?" he said, pointing at names. "Bluecrest Developments, Haverson Limited, Myra Realty, all shell companies under Ryan's control. He used them to move money offshore." At the far end of the room, a new face leaned forward from her laptop. Laura Kim, a quiet but brilliant financial analyst, typed rapidly, eyes locked on the screen. "I traced the pattern. He falsified property valuations, took loans against non-existent assets, then wired the funds to the Caymans." She looked up, her calm voice edged with disbelief. "This isn't business, it's organized fraud." The intensity in the room thickened. Emily's heart pounded. She remembered Ryan's words, "You're nothing but dead weight." The irony made her stomach twist. Now she realized that while she'd been crying at home, he'd been using her late father's money to build a stolen kingdom. "Can we prove it?" she asked quietly. Laura nodded. "Yes, but timing is key. If we go public too soon, he'll move the rest of the funds," Clara added. "We don't strike now, we prepare. We let him get comfortable, overconfident." Sam smirked. "And we make sure every lie he tells digs his own grave." Emily stared at the documents again, the paper trembling in her grip. Female resilience, quiet strength, tactical silence. Her father's lessons came rushing back. "Then we wait," she said. "Let him think I'm weak. Let him think he's won. And when the moment comes," her voice hardened, "he'll watch everything crumble." The room fell silent, the storm of plans settling into focus. For the first time, Emily didn't feel like a victim. She felt like her father's daughter. Sam crossed his arms. "We'll need inside confirmation. Someone close to Ryan, maybe his accountant, could flip if the pressure's right." Clara looked up sharply. "Trevor Cole?" Emily frowned. "Who's that?" "Ryan's financial gatekeeper," Laura said. "He handles every illegal transfer. If we get him, we get the truth." Emily's gaze hardened. "Then find him." As Laura shut her laptop, her eyes flickered toward an email notification. "Incoming transaction. Ward Holdings confidential audit inquiry." "She," whispered. "Someone else is already digging." Miles away, a trembling hand belonging to Trevor Cole hit delete, unaware that his next mistake would expose everything. Lightning flashed through the narrow window as Emily Ward jolted awake, heart racing. Papers were scattered across Clara's office. Contracts, receipts, blueprints, everything they'd uncovered about Ryan's fraud. She wasn't sure when she had fallen asleep, only that the storm outside had grown louder. The door creaked open, and Clara Reed stepped in, holding a small wooden box. Its corners were worn smooth, initials H.W. carved into the lid. "Emily," she said quietly, "Sam found this in your father's storage unit. It was sealed under your name." Sam Hayes, the loyal investigator, entered behind her, rain dripping from his jacket. "It was buried under old contracts. Took me hours to notice the Ward family crest on the lock." Emily's breath caught. She reached for the box, hands trembling. The moment she opened it, the air seemed to still. Inside lay a folded letter, a flash drive, and a tarnished gold pin, her father's old cufflink. Her eyes scanned the letter, her father's handwriting steady, confident. "My dearest Emily, if you're reading this, it means the man beside you has failed the test of love. You are my greatest creation, not the company, not the buildings, but you. Should betrayal ever come, remember this. I left you not just money, but proof. Inside this drive lies every transaction that built Ryan's empire, all of it tied back to my initial investment. It's time the truth belonged to you." Tears streamed down Emily's cheeks. The pain that had haunted her since that night, the humiliation, the emotional abuse, The feeling of being called dead weight all began to shift into something sharper. Purpose. Sam took the flash drive carefully. We'll decrypt it tonight. But Emily, this could expose everything. It's your father's final safeguard. Clara nodded. And it proves Ryan used Henry Ward's capital illegally. Once verified, he'll have no defense left in court. Emily traced the cufflink with her fingers. He thought my father died broke. He had no idea he was stealing from the man who built his future. Clara smiled faintly. Your father always planned 3 moves ahead. The room fell silent except for the hum of the computer as Sam loaded the drive. Rows of data filled the screen: offshore accounts, property transfers, bribes labeled as consulting fees. Each line was a nail in Ryan's coffin. Emily stood tall, eyes clear now. Then this is the beginning of his reckoning. Clara placed a steady hand on her shoulder. Be patient, Emily. Justice isn't loud, it's precise. Your father taught us that. Thunder rolled again outside, but this time Emily didn't flinch. Her heart no longer beat from fear, it pulsed with resolve. As Sam scrolled through the files, his brow furrowed. Clara, this last folder, it's marked Ryan's confession. He clicked once. The screen flickered, and a hidden video began to play. Ryan's voice filled the room. If anyone ever finds this file, it means I've been betrayed first. Emily froze. The storm outside went silent. He's mocking you on camera. Clara's voice cut through the dim-lit office like a blade. On the big monitor, Ryan Ward's face filled the screen, confident, smug, untouchable. His recorded voice played again. If anyone ever finds this file, it means I've already won. No one beats me, not investors, not the courts, not her. Sam Hayes slammed his fist on the desk. He was documenting his own crimes and bragging about it. He growled. That's not confidence, that's narcissism. The room vibrated with tension. Files littered every corner. Rain pounded against the windows, and the air was thick with adrenaline. Emily, Ward stood still, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. Her face was pale, but her eyes burned with quiet rage. He really believes I'm gone, she said softly. That's his weakness, he underestimates me. Clara took a deep breath, her tone steady but sharp. Then let's use that. We make him think he's still in control while we pull the rug from under him. Sam leaned forward, scanning the screen. Look here, he mentioned someone named TC during this video. He said, TC handled the Cayman wires. That's Trevor Cole, his accountant. If we get to him, we can prove every illegal transfer. Emily turned toward him. Can we trust him? Sam shook his head. He's loyal to money, not people. If Ryan's payments stop, he'll panic. That's when he'll talk. Clara pulled out a notepad and started sketching a timeline. Here's what we'll do. Step 1, make Ryan comfortable. Step 2, get Trevor nervous. Step 3, strike when the evidence is airtight. Emily's voice was calm but steady, echoing her father's wisdom. We'll need patience. This isn't just revenge, this is legal justice. I want him ruined in daylight, not darkness. Female resilience, strategic silence, long game, dignity under fire, they were no longer just words. They were becoming her weapons. Sam smiled slightly. I like the way you think, Emily. Just like Henry Ward, precise, patient, terrifying. Clara added. Your father used to say, the loudest man in the room is always the weakest. Ryan's laughter will be his undoing. Emily turned to the window. Outside, lightning forked across the skyline, illuminating the towering glass of Ward Enterprises. He built that company with my father's money, she whispered. Now, I'll reclaim it with truth. The office quieted. The three of them stood over the glowing table of documents, a map of fraud, shell companies, forged records, embezzlement. Every red line led to Ryan. Every dot was a piece of his undoing. Clara looked up. Emily, when this ends, you won't just have justice, you'll have his empire. Emily's lips curved into a faint, determined smile. No, she said. I'll rebuild it with integrity the way my father wanted. The computer beeped suddenly. A new message appeared on screen. Sam squinted. Incoming transfer from Ryan's firm to an unknown account. Clara frowned. Who's the recipient? Sam's jaw tightened. Trevor Cole. As the screen refreshed, a notification blinked. Trevor Cole has scheduled a private meeting with Ryan Ward 8 p.m. tomorrow, Clara whispered. He's about to make a deal. Emily's eyes hardened. Then, tomorrow, we make ours. He's meeting the accountant tonight. Clara's voice snapped through the office, jolting everyone into motion. Papers flew as Emily Ward, Clara Reed, Sam Hayes, and Laura Kim huddled around the glowing screen. The email alert from the last scene blinked again. Trevor Cole, private dinner, 8 p.m. at the Skylight Terrace. Sam grabbed his coat. If we miss this, he'll move the offshore money, and we'll lose every trace of the embezzlement. Emily, calm but pale, steadied herself. Then we don't miss it. We catch them both in their own trap. The team erupted into focused chaos. Sam pulled up surveillance maps. Laura opened spreadsheets of bank trails, tracing thousands of dollars from Ward Enterprises to shell accounts. Clara printed out affidavits, forensic reports, and notarized statements that would be needed if tonight turned into evidence collection. The office lights flickered. It was almost evening. Emily's reflection on the glass looked different now. Not fragile, but fierce. She touched her stomach briefly, then whispered to herself, "This is for you, Dad." Clara turned. "Emily, remember you're not here for revenge. You're here for justice. Ryan broke the law, and the law will break him." Emily nodded. "I'll let the truth do what my tears couldn't." As the tension eased, Sam loaded a small device into his bag, a hidden mic. "We record the conversation. Trevor's loyalty is already shaking. All we need is one slip," Laura chimed in without looking up, typing furiously. "And if we link his confession to the shell companies, the fraud exposure becomes undeniable." For a moment the rush slowed. The office quieted except for the hum of the printer and the city wind howling outside. Emily sat, hands clasped, breathing deeply. Her father's words returned to her. "When people lie, don't fight them. Let their lies burn themselves out." The lies were almost out of oxygen. Sam checked his watch. "It's almost time." Clara adjusted her blazer. "We'll divide roles. Sam, you handle the tech. Laura, stay on comms with me from the van. Emily," she hesitated, "you stay quiet until we signal. Tonight isn't about confrontation. It's about watching the guilty destroy themselves." Emily's eyes lifted slowly. "He called me dead weight," she said, her tone soft but heavy. "But the truth is what will crush him." Sam grinned faintly. "Then let's watch gravity work." They gathered their files, the plan now set. Outside, the city glimmered with gold light from the setting sun, the calm before a legal storm. Emily locked the door behind them, leaving only the faint glow of her father's letter still open on the desk. A single line underlined in his handwriting read, "Patience is the sharpest blade." As they stepped into the night, thunder rolled over the skyline, and Sam's radio crackled with interference. Laura glanced at her tablet, frowning. "Wait, Trevor isn't alone. Ryan's already there." Clara froze mid-step. Emily's heart pounded once, hard. "Then tonight," she whispered, "he walks into his own downfall." "Ladies and gentlemen, raise your glasses." Ryan Ward's voice boomed across the glittering rooftop of the Skylight Terrace. Camera flashes painted him in gold. He stood at the center of a crowd, investors, socialites, reporters, the same people who once praised him as the king of real estate. Beside him, Vanessa Hale, flawless in a red silk gown, looped her arm through his. Her laughter sparkled louder than the champagne bubbles. "To the empire we built," she purred. Ryan smirked, raising his glass higher. "To success, to freedom, and to never letting deadweight drag you down?" The crowd roared with laughter, unaware of the storm gathering around them. In the far corner, Victoria Hale, Vanessa's cousin and PR strategist, filmed the scene with her phone, live streaming to their investor network. "Show them power, Ryan," she whispered. "They love a confident man." Across the terrace, Trevor Cole, Ryan's accountant, sat at a small table, sweating bullets. His tie was too tight, his eyes darting between his phone and the champagne glass in front of him. Every few seconds, he checked the door, waiting for Ryan's signal. Ryan leaned toward him. "Did you move the last transfer?" Trevor swallowed hard. "Yes, sir, to the Cayman account under Hale Holdings." Vanessa smiled, brushing Ryan's arm. "Then tonight, we celebrate untouchable wealth." But outside, parked across the street, Sam Hayes, Clara Reed, and Laura Kim sat in a black surveillance van. The screen flickered with audio waves, every word captured through Sam's hidden mic in Trevor's cufflink. Got it, Sam whispered. Every illegal transfer, every offshore account, he's confessing publicly. Clara's voice was steady but cold. He doesn't even realize he's digging his own grave, Laura typed quickly, mapping each account in real time. Evidence stack complete. We can trace every dollar back to Henry Ward's trust. Back on the terrace, Ryan raised his glass again, basking in his arrogance. They said Henry Ward was a fool to trust me. But look at me now, his fortune rebuilt in my image. The crowd cheered. Public humiliation was coming, but he didn't know it yet. Vanessa kissed his cheek for the cameras. You did it, baby. You won. Ryan chuckled darkly. Winning's easy when you own the system. The audience clapped, investors, partners, and socialites drunk on illusion. But in the crowd, one face stood out. Blake Turner, the older investor from the earlier party, watching silently. His expression was hard, calculating. He whispered to a reporter beside him, "Record this. Every word." Ryan continued his speech, oblivious. By this time next month, Ward Enterprises will merge with Hale Holdings. I'll own everything the Wards left behind. The crowd applauded again, but Trevor's hand trembled. His phone buzzed. One message. They know everything. Leave now. He turned pale. Ryan noticed. What's wrong? Trevor looked up, eyes wide. We're being watched. Ryan froze. The laughter around them faded. Camera flashes stopped. Sam's voice came through the van's speaker. We've got it all. Call the press. Tomorrow morning he falls. As Ryan's smirk faltered and the crowd murmured in confusion, thunder rolled again, louder, closer this time. Vanessa turned to him, whispering, Ryan, why are there police at the door? And from below, blue lights began to flash against the glass. Turn off the cameras! Vanessa Hale's voice cracked across the rooftop like glass shattering. The once lavish party had turned into chaos. Police sirens screamed below. Reporters pressed against the glass doors, their microphones flashing red lights. Ryan's hand tightened around his glass until it broke, blood dripping between his fingers. Who called them? He hissed. Everyone froze. Victoria Hale, his PR, manager and Vanessa's cousin, stepped forward, trembling. Ryan, the police said they have a warrant financial crimes investigation. They're asking for you by name. Vanessa's perfect posture crumbled. Her voice was smaller now, desperate. Ryan, you said everything was handled. You said the money was clean. Ryan glared at her. It was clean until someone talked. His eyes darted toward Trevor Cole, the accountant at the corner table, pale as paper, hands shaking. Trevor stammered. I didn't say anything, I swear. They have recordings. Ryan grabbed him by the collar. You fool, you were supposed to delete those files. The crowd gasped. Phones rose again. The same audience that once adored him was now filming his meltdown. The public mask was cracking. Meanwhile, across the street, Ethan Gray, a slick-haired journalist who'd been chasing rumors about Ryan's fraud, grinned behind his camera. This is gold, he whispered to his assistant. CEO meltdown caught live. Inside, Lila James, Vanessa's personal stylist, pulled at her arm. We have to go. Now. This will ruin you. Vanessa shook her head violently. No, I can't be seen running. If the cameras catch that, Victoria interrupted sharply. Too late. They already are. Ryan turned on Vanessa. You wanted fame? There's your spotlight. His tone dripped with venom and humiliation. Tears blurred Vanessa's mascara as she hissed. Don't you dare blame me. I risked everything for you, my career. My name. He stepped closer, eyes cold. And I risked my empire for a woman who thought love was leverage. A stunned silence followed, heavy with betrayal, arrogance, and the collapse of control. Outside, Ethan spoke into his mic. Breaking story. Ryan Ward, once hailed as the face of corporate success, now under investigation for embezzlement and fraud exposure. Authorities confirm new evidence linking Ward Enterprises to illegal offshore accounts. Reporters flooded into the lobby. Flashbulbs exploded. Ryan shielded his face, shouting, No comment. I said no comment, Victoria whispered fiercely. You need to leave before they take you in front of everyone, Ryan sneered. No one takes me down. Not cops. Not her. Not anyone. He stormed toward the elevator, but police officers were already blocking the exit below. The murmuring crowd split like water, leaving him stranded in the center of the floor, surrounded, cornered, and exposed. Vanessa's knees buckled. "Ryan, what have you done?" He didn't answer. His face had gone pale, almost hollow. For the first time, the man who believed he controlled everything looked afraid. As officers reached for Ryan's arm, one of them spoke into his radio. "Copy that. The warrant was issued by Emily Ward's legal team." Vanessa's head snapped up in shock. "Emily?" she whispered. "She's behind this?" "And far away." Emily closed her laptop, whispering, "This is only the beginning. Order in the court." The judge's gavel slammed like thunder. The sound echoed through the packed courtroom, where Ryan Ward sat at the defendant's table, face pale, fingers clenched. Flash bulbs from the press outside the glass walls still flickered through, creating a strobe of shame across his face. Across from him, Emily Ward entered calm, composed, dressed in a tailored navy suit that mirrored her father's old style. Her presence silenced the room instantly. No tears, no tremor, just dignity. Beside her stood Clara Reed, her lawyer and ally, carrying a thick folder labeled Ward vs. Ward Enterprises. Behind them sat Laura Kim, the quiet analyst who traced every stolen dollar. This wasn't revenge anymore. It was legal justice. Ryan's attorney sneered, "Your Honor, my client maintains that Mrs. Ward is emotionally unstable and seeking publicity. This case is nothing more than a personal vendetta." Emily's calm voice cut through. "If justice is vengeance, then truth must be my weapon." Gasps rippled through the spectators. The judge, a stern woman with silver glasses, adjusted her robe. "Proceed, Miss Reed." Clara stepped forward, placing a single envelope on the judge's bench. "Inside this, Your Honor, are forensic bank records, emails, and a signed affidavit from Trevor Cole, Ryan Ward's own accountant. It confirms a decade of embezzlement, forged narratives, and illegal transfers from the Ward Family Trust." Ryan's face drained of color. "That's a lie," Clara continued coolly. "It's also proof that Mr. Ward used Henry Ward's investment to build his empire while forcing my client to sign an ironclad prenup he knew was void under fraud. Every transaction he made was financed by her father's legacy." The courtroom erupted. Reporters scribbled, cameras clicked, and Ryan's attorney stammered, "Objection. Overruled," the judge said firmly. Clara opened the envelope and handed the judge a single paper. "Here is the clause Mr. Ward forged to remove Mrs. Ward's inheritance rights. And here," she lifted another document, "is the notarized version signed by Henry Ward himself. Authentic. Verified." Ryan slammed his hand on the desk. "You can't do this. I own Ward Enterprises." Emily looked at him for the first time in months. "No, Ryan, you managed it. I own it." The words landed like a verdict. The crowd gasped. Even the court reporter paused mid-typing. The judge adjusted her glasses, reviewing the papers. "This case will proceed under full financial review. But at first glance, Mrs. Ward's evidence appears irrefutable." Ryan's voice broke. "Emily, please." She turned away, her tone like steel. "You taught me silence was weakness. Today it's my strength." As the judge lifted her gavel again, she said, "Court will reconvene tomorrow for financial sentencing." But outside, the courthouse steps swarmed with cameras, and a police escort was already waiting. Clara whispered, "They're not just reviewing him, Emily. They're arresting him." "You can't arrest me." Ryan Ward's scream echoed through the marble lobby of the courthouse. Two uniformed officers stepped forward, flanked by cameras and reporters. His expensive suit was rumpled, his hair slick with sweat. The man who once ruled boardrooms now stood cornered beneath the blinding flash of justice. Detective Howard, a composed and firm officer, raised his badge. "Ryan Ward, you are under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, and forgery under federal law. You have the right to remain silent." Ryan shoved one officer aside, panic in his eyes. "You think you can parade me like a criminal? My lawyers will bury you all." Before he could say more, a calm voice cut through the chaos. "No, Ryan, this isn't a parade. It's a reckoning." All eyes turned. Standing near the courthouse steps was Henry Ward's estate lawyer, Mr. Grant Hale, an older man in a gray suit who had once represented Henry before his death. His eyes were cold and unyielding. Your empire was built on stolen foundations. It was only a matter of time before it collapsed. The crowd gasped as Mr. Grant handed Detective Howard a file, stamped Ward Holdings Clause 17. Asset reversion. Under this clause, all misused Ward assets revert to the original trust, Mrs. Emily Ward's trust. Ryan's face twisted in disbelief. You can't. This is a setup. Sam Hayes and Clara Reed, standing nearby, watched silently. Sam whispered, "That's the final nail." Clara nodded. Justice served in daylight, just like Henry wanted. Emily appeared at the top of the courthouse steps, her figure framed against the sunlight. The once timid woman he'd called dead weight now looked untouchable, calm, radiant, and unbroken. Ryan stumbled forward, shouting at her, "Emily! You think this makes you powerful? You needed me." Her voice was steady. "No, Ryan, I needed peace. You just taught me what strength looks like." The crowd erupted into murmurs. Cameras zoomed in, catching the moment the officers clasped handcuffs around his wrists. Public humiliation, accountability, and downfall converged into one poetic image, the king stripped of his crown. Ryan's voice cracked, desperation replacing arrogance. "Emily, please don't do this. I'll lose everything." She looked at him one last time, her tone soft but resolute. "You already did." As he was led away, Vanessa Hale, the mistress, watched from a distance, tears streaking her makeup. For the first time, no one came to her defense. Reporters swarmed, microphones flashing. The whispers in the air were merciless. "He's finished. She won. Ward Empire collapses overnight." Emily stepped down the stairs slowly, her hand brushing the railing. The crowd parted for her, not out of pity but respect. As Ryan was shoved into the police car, Detective Howard turned to Emily. "This doesn't end here. There's still the sentencing hearing." Emily nodded, her voice low. "Then that's where he'll finally hear the truth in front of the world." And far across the city, banners already hung for the upcoming charity gala for Ward Foundation, where every secret would come full circle. "All rise!" The courtroom erupted with movement as the judge entered, robes sweeping the polished floor. Ryan Ward, handcuffed, was escorted in by two officers. His once expensive suit was now wrinkled, his confidence broken. The air was thick with tension, a storm about to break in front of the world. Flashes from media cameras outside the door reflected through the glass walls. Reporters whispered like vultures waiting for the final drop of blood. On the front row, Vanessa Hale, trembling and pale, gripped her lawyer's arm. Her red lipstick was gone, replaced by the color of fear. At the prosecutor's table, Judge Stevens adjusted his glasses, his expression firm but unreadable. Beside him stood Prosecutor Lennox, known for his merciless approach in high-profile cases. The judge's voice echoed, commanding and sharp. "This court convenes to deliver sentencing in the case of the State versus Ryan Ward charges: embezzlement, forgery, fraud, and breach of fiduciary duty." Ryan's head hung low. His lawyer tried to whisper comfort, but his words fell like dust. "Mr. Ward," the judge continued, "you built an empire on deception. You stole from those who trusted you and from the woman who shared your home. Before we proceed, do you have anything to say?" Ryan looked up, eyes glistening, voice cracking. "Your Honor, I lost my way. I only wanted success to be respected. Please, I'm not a monster." From the gallery, a single voice answered softly, "Emily Ward." "Monsters never think they are, Ryan, until the mirror cracks." The courtroom turned toward her. She sat tall and composed, wearing black not for mourning, but for closure. Dignity under fire and female resilience radiated from her. Vanessa looked at Emily across the aisle, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Emily, I didn't know it would go this far," she whispered. Emily's eyes didn't waver. "You helped him destroy what my father built, but he destroyed himself." The judge struck his gavel once. "Enough." Prosecutor Lennox stepped forward. "Your Honor, based on the evidence, including financial records, notarized affidavits, and witness testimony, the state recommends a full conviction with no suspension." The courtroom fell silent. Then, in one decisive motion, the judge raised the paper. "Ryan Ward, you are hereby sentenced to 5 years in federal prison, restitution of all stolen assets, and permanent removal from all corporate boards." Gasps filled the room. Vanessa buried her face in her hands. Ryan froze, as if time had stopped. His empire, his pride, his illusions gone. The judge's voice lowered, each word heavy as stone. Let this be a lesson: greed destroys the greedy, and truth prevails. Reporters surged toward the aisle. Cameras flashed wildly. In the chaos, socialites whispered among themselves, "She's the new owner now. Ward Enterprises is hers." Emily rose quietly, walking past Ryan without a glance. For once, his eyes followed her, not with hate, but regret. As Ryan was led away, reporters shouted Emily's name. She turned once, eyes calm, and said, "My father built this legacy on honesty. I intend to rebuild it with compassion." Outside, the sound of camera flashes grew louder, and at the end of the hallway, a golden banner shimmered under the light. "The Ward Foundation Charity Gala tonight." "That's her, Emily Ward." Reporters swarmed the grand marble steps of the Ward Foundation Charity Gala, flash bulbs bursting like fireworks. The night shimmered with gold and tension. Every guest, every camera, every whisper turned toward the woman walking up the crimson carpet. Emily Ward moved through the chaos in a sleek black gown, calm, poised, and radiant. No longer the trembling wife who'd been thrown out into the cold. She was now the head of the empire her father built, the woman who turned betrayal into rebirth. Beside her walked Clara Reed, her loyal lawyer and ally, smiling proudly. Laura Kim, the financial analyst, stood just behind them, clutching the final restoration documents. Together, they had rewritten the ending. But from the crowd, a broken figure stumbled forward. Ryan Ward, dressed in a plain gray suit, escorted by 2 officers. The court had allowed him one brief appearance before his transfer to federal prison. The press exploded with flashes. Gasps rippled through the air. Ryan's voice cracked as he called out, "Emily, please, just listen." The officers hesitated, glancing at her. The entire crowd froze, watching the once powerful man plead before the woman he destroyed. Emily turned slowly, her expression unreadable. Dignity under fire. "You wanted to speak, Ryan. Say it." He stepped closer, voice shaking. "I lost everything, my company, my home, my life. You've proved your point. But please, I can't lose you." The crowd held its breath. The world seemed to pause. Emily's voice was soft but unflinching. "You didn't lose me, Ryan. You threw me away the moment you called me dead weight." Ryan's eyes filled with regret. "I was wrong." Clara stepped forward protectively. "Mr. Ward, that's enough." But Emily raised her hand gently. Her gaze never left him. "You thought power came from control. My father taught me it comes from truth, kindness, and integrity. That's what you'll never understand." Ryan dropped to his knees, tears cutting through the arrogance that once defined him. Cameras flashed like lightning. Reporters whispered, "She forgave him publicly?" But Emily shook her head. "Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's freedom. I wish you peace far from my world." The officers lifted him gently. Ryan looked back one last time, whispering, "You won, Emily." She met his eyes. "No, I healed." As the doors closed behind him, the gala lights dimmed. Emily turned toward the stage. The orchestra quieted. The guests rose in applause as she stepped to the microphone. "This foundation," she began, "isn't built on revenge, but renewal. My father believed wealth should heal, not harm. Tonight, we relaunch the Ward Foundation for women who've been silenced, betrayed, or broken. Because silence," she smiled faintly, "can build strength." The audience erupted in emotion, standing ovation, tears, pride. In that moment, female resilience, grace under pressure, and justice served merged into a single truth. She had reclaimed her legacy. As the applause thundered, a soft breeze swept across the marble floor, brushing against her father's portrait beside the stage. Emily looked up, eyes glistening. "You were right, Dad," she whispered. Patience was the sharpest blade. And for the first time, the silence was not painful. It was peace.